History will be made today when former President Donald Trump appears in a New York courtroom for an arraignment. There will be no cameras, phones, or laptops allowed in the courtroom during his hearing. Instead, a judge ruled photos can be taken before the arraignment starts.
A Manhattan grand jury voted to bring those charges against Trump last week, and today the former president is expected to learn exactly what those charges are. Anonymous sources have told the AP that Trump is facing multiple charges of falsifying business records, including at least one felony, and this is all stemming from alleged hush money payments that he made to adult entertainer Stormy Daniels during the 2016 election. Our legal analyst Karen Conti is here now to break this all down for us. Good morning, Karen. Thanks for joining us this morning. Today's arraignment day. I want you to tell me what typically happens to the accused on arraignment day, and how is it going to be different for Donald Trump because he's a former president?
Well, normally when you surrender a defendant, you bring them into kind of the bowels of the prosecutor's office, and you go through there and you get fingerprinted, you get your mugshot taken. You are asked a series of very basic questions. Where do you live? Where do you intend on going? What's your height and weight, and all of those things. And it's a little humiliating. And then you are brought to the courtroom and where you're arraigned and the charges are read. Now, I understand that maybe he's not going to have a mugshot taken, and he'll probably be given a little preferential treatment, not so much because he's the president, but because he's going to be surrounded by Secret Service people and other security people who are at that building.
Okay, I understand that Trump is actually familiar with this judge that he will be going before today, and his attorneys may actually be asking for that judge to be removed. Give us a little history here. How do they know each other, and is this going to be a problem?
Well, Juan Merchan is a pretty seasoned judge. He has some real estate experience himself before he was a lawyer. But more importantly, he has presided over several cases involving Trump's people. In fact, he is now presiding over the case against Steve Bannon, who's been charged with fraud and money laundering. He also presided over the case, the federal criminal tax fraud case against the Trump organization. The Trump organization was found guilty, and this judge fined the organization the maximum fine. So I think that the idea is that they don't like this judge because the judge has already seen some of the things in the Trump administration and has acted accordingly.
Obviously, Karen, this is a case that a lot of people are watching very closely. So 2 questions for you. What's the likelihood that this arraignment or any future hearings are actually going to be televised? And what's the likelihood of the judge issuing a gag order?
Well, New York has very strict laws against cameras in the courtroom. They're one of the states that really, they don't like cameras in the courtroom. This judge has already said there's not going to be cameras in the courtroom, only photographs, as you said before, prior to the event. So I doubt that there are going to be cameras in the courtroom, although some of the media outlets have brought lawsuits to force the judge to do this. And of course, if there's any case that anyone wants to see, this is the case, right? This is the case that people really want to see, and really, I think in some ways have a right to see. A gag order is likely, and this is why I say this. The judge has the absolute obligation to make sure this is a fair trial for Donald Trump, for the prosecution, for everyone. And if he fears that people are going to be talking and maybe poisoning the jury pool and saying inflammatory things, this judge could very well say that nobody can talk about this case during the pendency of the trial.
Karen Conti, we thank you for joining us, and hopefully you'll come back with us tomorrow when we find out exactly what those charges are. We appreciate your time.
Sure.